welcome everybody in the Quad Cities online and you guys sitting here. We started a series last week called Pre-Decide. Basically, we're saying, listen, when you make better decisions, your life is better. And now that we are into a new year, and such a good place to start with that, I just found out that this past Friday was a national holiday, Friday, January 12th. You guys know what it is? It's National Quitters Day. Somebody figured out that's the amount of time it takes somebody to make a New Year's resolution and then give up on it. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Whatever resolution you made, or let's say you didn't make a New Year's resolution, but like you decided to make a change in your life, you're like, I'm going to do it. And then, come on, don't be honest out loud, just be honest in your heart. You get like a weekend or 10 days, and like, I'm doing this thing. And by 2 weeks, you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. Or you miss 1 day, and then you miss 2 days, and you're like, not worth anymore. Listen, here at Real Life, we don't do this a lot because we don't have a show on TV, and we don't name it and claim it or anything like that. But I'm telling you, this morning, I'm going to give you the secret to making choices, resolutions, goals, and following through it. I'm going to give you the secret of what can keep you on task and moving ahead and getting to where you want to go and achieve what you want to achieve. Guaranteed. Not guaranteed. But this is what we decided. That the thing that separates people who feel fulfilled and who feel like they're making it in life compared to the rest of us who feel empty at times are the decisions that you make. We can all look back, or I can look back on choices I made in the past and say, man, I wish I had done that. Because that really set me back, or that got me off course. But how great. What do you think the difference is between people who are fulfilled in life and those who feel empty? I think you know that. It's the quality of your decisions. The quality of your decisions dictates the quality of your life. And you can argue with that, but just think about that. What you decide, what choices you make, if you make good choices and good decisions, then your life is better. That's just the way it is. Doesn't mean you avoid all pain and problems. It's just the way it is. So, what we talked about last week was we're going to pre-decide. We're going to decide before what you will do later. Let me give you an example of that. Let's fill in this blank. When faced with blank, I pre-decide to do blank. So, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to boot camp class at the barn. It's like wannabe CrossFit, all right? Jim Bordner and Sarah England lead it. It's not CrossFit. We're not nearly as fit or as intense, but it's 3 days a week. At the end of boot camp class, I said to Shelby and Jen and Sarah, listen, it's going to be super cold tomorrow, Thursday, but I am pre-deciding right now that I'm going to get up and jog as usual, no matter what. So, when faced with the prospect of jogging in the very cold weather, that's the situation, I pre-decided. Like the rest of that day, when I went to bed, I told Darlene, listen, you may never see me again, but I'm going to get up and run in the morning. I have pre-decided. What do you think I did? Got up and ran. Guess what temperature it was? About 25. On Friday, after boot camp, I say to Shelby, Jen, and Sarah, I have pre-decided that I'm not running tomorrow, Saturday. It was like 1 degree, right? And I told them, I have pre-decided, I made a choice. When faced with the prospect of jogging in 1 degree weather, I pre-decided not to do it. What do you think I did? I did not jog in the cold. I got on the stupid treadmill and stared at my phone for an hour, all right? I don't even know if the treadmill was moving. That's how easy it is, all right? So, last week we decided that we're going to pre-decide. And we said that we're going to choose, by God's help, that we're ready. That you can say, listen, wherever you've come from, wherever you've been, whatever's been going on in the last couple of weeks or the last year or the last years, you can say, this is a year, this is a time, this is the Sunday. I'm ready. I'm ready to take my life back. I'm ready for life not to control me. I'm ready to make decisions for me and my marriage and my family and the people I care about. That I've made a decision, I've pre-decided to think through my behaviors ahead of time before I do it. So I'm ready. Now this morning, I want to continue. I want to give you a new one. If we started last week with I'm ready, I'm going to give you a new one. And this is the key to everything, all right? It's the most important life quality. And you know what? We can debate that over coffee or something if you'd like. It has the greatest potential to get you to where you want to be in life. Not just for this year, maybe for your entire life. All right? It's the key quality in your spiritual strength, your athletic or academic impact or success, your physical health, it's the key. It's the key to your relationships for sure. Your financial potential or your financial situation. It's also the key to any goal that you set and able to reach success with it. Now listen, here's what's not. It has nothing to do with where you're from, what you look like, your background, your education, your job, nothing. The key to life, the key to spiritual, athletic, relationships, goals, physical, financial, is your consistency. It's just key. It is key. That the more consistent you are, the more consistently you show up, the more consistently you do something, the better it is, the more you succeed. Now, some of you right away, when you saw that word, you thought, oh man, I am screwed. Because the thing I'm most consistent about is being inconsistent. Like, I'll just talk for myself so I don't embarrass you. So many times I've decided I'm going to eat better. Do you know how much weight I've lost over the last 30 years? I bet you I've lost 500 pounds. Like, you used to weigh 700 pounds? No. But I've lost and gained and lost and gained. I'm going to do the stats on that. I just made that stat up. I bet you it's a ton. I'm going to eat different, and I do. And then I don't. I'm going to be more in depth of my Bible study. In fact, I'm going to get out commentaries and stuff, and I'm going to impress the seminarians, impress Megan and Billy and my seminary knowledge and everything, and I'm going to look at me go. And I do for a couple weeks. I'm going to exercise. You know how many exercise programs I've stopped and started? Whatever that is, if you're tired of having good intentions and no follow through, here's some secrets for you. I'm going to give it to you. There's this dude in the Bible in the New Testament named Paul. We talk about him a lot. Paul's super interesting because he hated Jesus and he hated people who followed him in the first century. So he would persecute him, he'd throw him in jails. He got permission to arrest people who said they followed Jesus. And then he was a persecutor of Christians, and then he became one. So then, because God did this huge work in his life, and he met Jesus, then he took the teachings of Jesus, as written down and recorded by his disciples, and then Paul translated them into everyday activities for us to put into action the teachings of Jesus. Paul, arguably, if you're going to make a list of the greatest people in the Bible, Paul makes the top 10. All right? If you're unfamiliar with him, just take my word for it. He's like one of the big guys, certainly in writing, because he wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. This is what Paul says about himself. I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Who's with me on that one? Yeah, everyone's afraid to talk. Listen, let's just start with this one. I don't really understand myself. Who's with me on that one? Yeah. How about this one? I don't really understand my spouse. Who's with me on that one? Yeah, there you go. I don't really understand my kids. Yeah. I don't really understand my parents. I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. I want to do what is right, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. That should make you all feel super great. Because one of the greatest leaders in the Bible struggled with consistency and doing right all the time and avoiding wrong all the time. If you're tired of having good intentions, falling short, then this next 20 minutes is for you. I think there's something here for all of us. Because we're going to pre-decide, with God's help, that we're going to be consistent. I want to talk about the power of consistencies. Now, in the next couple minutes, I want to tell you why consistency is important, then I'm going to tell you how to be more consistent, all right? Now, you can what do you know, preacher boy? Maybe not nothing, all right? But I think there's some truth in God's word, and there's some truth from living it out that can radically motivate you and change the direction of your life. Consistency matters because successful people do consistently what other people only do occasionally. Think about that. We are what we repeatedly do, not what we do occasionally. And I'm not picking on anybody because I'm with you. Like, we all want to do this, we all want to do that, and our intentions are good, but we haven't figured out how to continue doing that and getting the most out of it and let it benefit the people who are around us. One of the greatest examples of that comes in the Old Testament with a guy by the name of Daniel. Epic example of consistency. Now, if you've been to church before or for a while, you know Daniel from Daniel and the what? The lion's den. If you've never been to church before, it's a really weird story. All right? But Daniel was more than just the lion's den. Like, how did he end up there? Well, why was he even around to be thrown in this lion's den? So let me give you real quick. Middle schoolers, you're going to have to work hard. Let me give you a real quick history of what happened. You go all the way back to Abraham, and that's in the book of Genesis. And Abraham, God shows up and says, Abraham, let's do a thing. I'm going to make a mighty nation out of you. Let's go. So Abraham becomes the founding father of the nation of Israel. Then down the road, here comes the people say, we want a king. So God said, okay, you can have a king. So that's where you had Saul and David and Solomon. Those were the best years of the nation of Israel. They were dominant under Solomon and David especially. Then those guys died off, and the current kings decided to get rid of God, push that aside, do their own thing. And God said, look out, look out, look out. There's a problem coming. And so the nation of Israel was divided into two kingdoms. And Israel was in the north, and Judah was in the south. Israel went first and got attacked by Assyria. Assyria came in and dominated the land and took captives back to Assyria. And pretty soon later, down in 580-something, Babylon came in and said, let's take the southern kingdom. So by 586, the nation of Israel is no longer an independent nation. They were dominated first by Assyria in the north, and then Babylon came and conquered the northern kingdom, which was Assyria, and then conquered the southern kingdom. Pretty soon now, Babylon is in control. That's where Daniel shows up. Because the government in Babylon said, when we invade these places, when we go into Jerusalem, when we go into all the other cities in Israel, let's take the best and the brightest. Really, they would take captive as slaves, boys, really down to the age of 12 and older. And they wanted the best and brightest because they wanted to bring them into their kingdom, into Babylon, and indoctrinate them and brainwash them and raise them up to be Babylonian as kind of like sticking it to their enemy, but at the same time benefiting from high-quality Jewish boys that they've been able to train. Daniel was one of those guys. Daniel was taken captive. Daniel grew up in Babylon, and Daniel was a Jewish kid that the government had their eye on. Also, Bible scholars, we know who else lived in Babylon. Anyone? Got thrown in the fiery furnace? Meshach, see, that's the problem. Because growing up as a pastor's kid, it was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. But we always said, my shack, your shack, and to bed we go. And so that wasn't really appropriate. But that's some good pastor kid humor. Middle schoolers, I'll explain that to you later. All right? So you got Daniel. So Daniel was so great. The leaders of Babylon said, let's promote this kid. We know he's Jewish, but let's give him a high position because he is just a superior person. And all the other Babylonians in the government are like, wait a minute. We're not going to let this Jewish kid take our place. So they decide to dig up some dirt on him and get him canceled. You know what I'm saying? They went back and they checked out his old girlfriends. They looked on his social media posts. They found out in when he was 8 years old, that he liked Kermit the Frog and frogs were evil in Babylon or whatever. They tried to get him canceled. And they did everything they could. They spied on him. In his secret moments, they were looking at him. And this is what happened. They couldn't find anything to criticize him or condemn him. Listen, can you imagine someone saying this about you? He was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. Super consistent. He is a Jewish kid living in a foreign land. He could do and live and be however he wanted. And that's who Daniel was. So they couldn't find any dirt on him, so these leaders, Babylonian leaders, said, hey, I got an idea. Let's go butter up the king. So they go to King Darius and they say, hey, oh, King Darius, you are the best. In fact, we can't believe how handsome you are. That robe is looking good today. You're the greatest of the great. We think you're fantastic. And he's like, well, I really am. Thank you, guys. In fact, you are so great, O king. We don't think anyone should worship anything or anybody else but you, because look what you've done for our kingdom. Look who you are. And King Darius says, yeah, that's a great idea. So let's put a law in place just for 30 days that if anybody prays to or worships any other person or God, they'll be punished, thrown where? In the lion's den. Daniel hears about it, and look what he does. When Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual. In his upstairs room, with its windows open towards Jerusalem, he prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to his God. Successful people do consistently what other people only do occasionally. Daniel had set out that he was going to pray 3 times a day. That connecting to God, his devotion to God, that's how he expressed that. When something difficult came around, nothing changed that because he had consistently been doing that. Guess what happened? Got thrown in the lion's den. Here's a good thing, side note. Have you ever noticed there's times where you can be doing everything right and something still goes wrong? We live in a messed up world. Once sin entered, once all the pain of what sin brought to the world, it brought all kinds of difficulty and pain. So you can live rightly. In fact, you could live perfectly, good luck. And still, something could go wrong in your life. There's Daniel. Daniel's devotion to God kept him doing the right thing, even though there was pain connected to it. They throw him into the lion's den. And they go to get him. They're going to pick up his pieces after the lions devoured him. When Daniel was lifted high from the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. Thrown in the lion's den, Daniel says the angel came and shut the mouth of the lion, and he survived whole. Now, when do you think Daniel learned to trust God? When they threw him in the den? He might have started praying. But he learned to trust God daily before the lion's den even happened. Crude example, but if you have a keg of God, and you fill that up every day, or God fills that up every day. Every time you meet with God, every time you spend time praying, every time you get out your YouVersion Bible app and read in the morning or evening, whenever you do that, that keg gets filled up so that when you get thrown into a situation, you pull back on the lever and whoop, out comes what you need. If the keg is empty, you're on your own. You're like, oh, hey, God's not going to help. Yeah, God still cares about you and loves you and going to help you. But Daniel didn't panic because he trusted God consistently every single day. It's not what we do occasionally that makes it different. It's what we do consistently. Now, how do you do that? Because so far, if you're like a middle school boy, you're like, okay, here's what I've heard. Pray to God 3 times a day, get thrown in the lion's den. There's no lion's den. There is all kinds of stuff. But people who are successful consistently do the right thing and benefit not just this year, but in their entire life. So the next few minutes that we got left, I just want to give you 3 steps. How to roar. I made that up myself. How to roar into 2024 with consistency. You get that? See, it's a lion's den. Then I said how to roar into, like, move anyone. Like it's a roar. And it rhymes. How to roar into 2024. Listen. It's all in my book, Somehow I Manage. So here we go. There's 3 things. 3 things. These are so good, all right? First step, if you want to know how to be consistent, which is going to get you where you want to go physically and spiritually and relationally, first of all, start with the why. Why are you making a goal? Why are you doing what you're doing? We never stop and ask that question. Why did Daniel pray 3 times a day? No one made him. He didn't have to. But somewhere along the line, maybe it was taught by his family, maybe it was in the chaos of living in captivity, where he said, you know what? I am devoted to my God. And I want to live that out. It wasn't, I'm going to pray 3 times a day. Why? Because I think it's the right thing to do, and it'll get me to heaven or make people impressed with me. He wasn't doing it so everyone could see him. He did it because he was devoted to God. That he knew the why. Most resolutions that we make fail, not because of our desire to do it, but because of our devotion. If you don't stop and ask why do you want to change? If you don't have a clear why, you're going to celebrate Quitter's Day the second Friday of every January. You got to have a why. Now listen, some of you, if you made a resolution, don't raise your hand or whatever, but we've made resolutions before, right? Now, most of us make them because we have a desire for change. Not because we're devoted or we knew the why behind it. All right? Because, let's say, the reason I know that's true is because you waited till January 1st to make your resolution. If the doctor told me in October, Kyle, quit smoking or you're going to die of cancer, do you think I would wait till January 1st? I think I would quit October. See, we have desires to do stuff and to make changes, but the devotion, the power behind the why isn't there. So it's just like, I think it's a good idea. I have a desire to do it. But without the devotion, why is it that you want to do it? For example, let me give you a few. Here's some things that are good resolutions, good things to choose in this new year and every month and the rest of your life, okay? This year, I want to roar into 2024, and I want to be closer to God. Great. I want to have a better marriage. Absolutely fantastic. I want financial stability. Super. And you know what? And I want to stop this bad habit. All those things won't get you nowhere. Why do you want to do those things? Why do you want to be closer to God? Well, I want to be closer to God because when I connect with Him, I live for Him better, and then other people around me who I care about and people I've yet to know will be exposed to the love and grace of Jesus. That's a big deal to me. That's kind of why I show up every day to work. That's why I kind of show up on Sundays. I want to be closer to God, not for my benefit only, but I want people to see Jesus in the way I live and talk, and love and grace of Jesus comes out. That changes everything. My why to being closer to God, sorry, this is going to sound a little harsh. I don't want people to go to hell. I want people to know what real life, eternal life feels like, both now and in the life to come. Now, when I decide to get up in the morning and spend time on my YouVersion Bible app and read the Bible and spend time talking to God, it's more than just what I'm getting out of it. Now it becomes a devotion for me. I want to have a better marriage. Okay, why? Well, I want to honor the vows I said before God and these witnesses, and I want my kids to have a godly example of what it looks like to have what a loving, sacrificial marriage looks like. And for Darlene and I, me especially, I want to live out a new legacy of marriages in my family that haven't survived very well at all. So it's more than just, I want to have a good marriage. I want Darlene to feel like the most loved woman on the planet, because that's an example to our kids and the rest of our family and leaves a legacy. That's a lot more than just a good marriage. Why do I want to have financial stability? Because I don't want money to control me. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I want to be in a place where I tell my money what to do, my money doesn't tell me what to do, and I want to be in a place where I can be generous and meet the needs of other people. That changes different, completely different, isn't it? When you know your why, it changes everything. Finally, you want to stop a bad habit, whatever that is. Not just to not do that anymore. In fact, most of us need to figure out why we're doing that in the first place. But then we stop the bad habit. Why? Because for some of us, it's the first time you decide that this generational curse stops with you. You're not going to pass it on to your kids. You're not going to pass it on to your grandkids. That's more than just, I'm not doing that anymore. This changes your life currently and in the lives of people who are looking at you and who are to come. That's worth doing. Just desire, won't get you down the road. Devotion, knowing why you want to do that or why you expect certain outcomes. I'm not talking about why power. I'm talking about why power, not willpower. Man, my willpower doesn't work. In fact, there's so many times where I just say, okay, God, with your help, I really want to choose to do these things. Here's why. But I know I can't get there on my own. My willpower doesn't work very well. Finally, just to sum it up. When you know your why, you'll find a way. Because as soon as you make a decision to do something to make a change, and you know, you already have something floating around in your brain right now, whether you're sitting here in Brewster or online. When you know your why, you'll find a way, because there's going to be a time where you say, I don't want to do this. This is too hard. I overreacted. I bit off more than I could chew. I can't do this. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was on there. The I'll be back, it's not a Tuma guy. And obviously, if you know anything about Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's in super fit condition even in his 70s. And he's a big bodybuilder and everything, and he's worked out. But he said, he's 76, I think. He said every single morning, he gets on his bike and he rides down to Gold's Gym, the same gym he's worked out for decades. He said when he gets on his bike and leaves his house, as he rides down to Gold's Gym, the whole world is in black and white. After he works out and rides his bike home, the world's in living color. For Arnold Schwarzenegger, working out changes the perspective and tone and color of his day and of his life. Now, you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just saying, when you know your why, if he were just getting on his bike to go work out so he can say, hey, look at my big muscles. All right, maybe keep doing it. But it actually changes the tone of his day. So, know your why. Second, almost done. Plan to fail. You got to know you're going to mess up. All right? There's a certain time where you're going to I missed a day. All right, you missed a day, don't miss 2. Oh, I missed 2 days. Okay, well, don't miss 3. This comes into place in connecting with faith in Jesus too. We think that, hey, I'm not perfect. I've never been perfect, so I can't sign up for this thing. But consistency is not the same as perfection. Consistency is just trying to keep moving in the same direction. We think, we look at Daniel and we say, man, that guy, consistent. Do you think Daniel ever missed a time of prayer? Like he prayed 3 times a day. Do you think he ever missed one? Of course he did. Of course he did. Just a human. Wait a minute, though. He smelled like lion. Yeah, but still, maybe he was at work and King Darius had him stay late, so he missed his evening prayer time. Maybe he was on his way home and the traffic was horrible. It was camel to camel all the way home, and he lost time. Maybe he slept in. Right? The fact is, Daniel wasn't perfect. He's just a dude. He was consistent, but if he missed 1 prayer time, he didn't miss 2. If he missed 2, don't miss 3. You're going to mess up. You just got to allow for it. And some of us just can't handle that. We just I blew it once, I'm done with the whole thing. I was never meant to be consistent. I was never meant to achieve my goals. And it's just so easy just to give up. And sometimes, I got to get moving here. It's a whole sermon in itself. The illusion of perfection is keeping you from getting started. You think you have to be perfect and have to get it right all the time. So you're like, I can't do it. Not even going to start. I'd rather not attempt it than attempt it and fail. Man, you're missing out. I don't know this personally, but if you've ever done karate or jiu-jitsu or Kimagaga, I don't know. I don't know. You earn belts, right? Who's with me? What's the best belt you can achieve? Black. What's the hardest belt to achieve? White. Because you got to get started. And most people never start. You think, I can never get to a black belt. So you certainly can't, not unless you start at white. The hardest belt, obviously you put in lots of time and consistency to get to the black belt. But the fact is the most difficult one is the white belt because you never start. And you think, I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to eat the wrong thing. I'm going to oversleep. I'm going to buy something I shouldn't. Okay. Got to move on. Don't confuse perfection with consistency. So, we're going to plan to fail. We're going to know our why. And the last one is this. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process instead of the ultimate goal. Daniel wasn't praying 3 times a day to get promoted and get a high position in the Babylonian government. He just consistently did what mattered to God and lived out his devotion on a daily basis. We obsess about the goal, right? We're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to pay off all my credit cards. I'm going to read the whole Bible. Okay, but that's not the benefit. The benefit is in the process of day to day to day to day. Is you got to get the white belt before you get the next belt. So instead of saying, 20 pounds, 20 pounds, 20 pounds, how about just 1? How about just 1? Lose 1 pound, like, all right, let's do 2. The process is where life happens. The win isn't in the next belt. The win is showing up at the next class. Success happens daily, not in some goal in the future. Most of life is just showing up. You know what I'm saying? Remember when I first started running, and again, I'm not a runner. It's not fair to call me a runner to real runners. Not even a jogger. It's somewhere between a walk and a jog. We call it wogging. If you see me out there, you know I'm barely moving along, but I'm moving. When I first started jogging, I need as much input as possible because I can't go very far. I couldn't even run a mile, blah, 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 blah. And this was when I was 30. And I'm reading Runner's World and everything, and I've got the outfit and everything, and dressed like a runner. And Runner's World says, hey, there's this article. When you don't feel like running, and I'm like, well, that's me. And I read the article. When you don't feel like running, just put your running stuff on. Don't go run. Just get your outfit on. Get your ensemble, all right? Because put your running shoes on, put your shorts on and everything, and just sit and watch TV, have a bag of chips. But if you get your running outfit on, your costume, you're like, well, I'm already dressed up. I guess I'll just go walk around the house. Get outside and like, well, I'm out here. I'm not going to run 3 miles today, but I can walk to the casino and back, make some extra cash. All right, here we go. And pretty soon you're like, well, I'm walking. I might as well just jog. I'm here. It's not like, get out there and run 10 miles. It's just like, put your stuff on. Put your shoes on. Get out there and memorize the Bible. No, just get up and read a verse. Get out there and be perfect. Not just trust Jesus today. Success happens daily, not some goal in the future. I want to jump to our next steps. And the next steps we have every single week. We have this blue card, and we talk about it because it's important. The blue card is in your handout. There's a connection card, blue card online. So you can give us your prayer requests or your concerns or sign up or whatever you'd like to do. But we always give some next steps. I want to give you 3 so you can put into practice what we're hearing. Because last week we said, I'm ready. I'm ready to take my life back. I'm ready to take control. God willing and God helping me, I'm ready to take control. Today we're saying, I want to be consistent. By God's grace and God's help, I'm going to be consistent. Here's 3 steps. Define the purpose of your direction. Where are you headed and why are you headed there? It's a simple question, difficult discussion. I would encourage you to have that discussion with yourself, but I would encourage you to have that with someone you trust and love. Could be your spouse. Maybe that's a little rough right now because you're not on the same page, but someone, okay? What is the direction you're going? If the decisions you're making are taking you in this direction, do you like the direction your life is headed? And if not, what is the purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are your kids doing what they're doing? Why are they signed up? Why do you go? Why do you spend? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you why. Know your why. What's the purpose of your direction? Now, some of us were in the middle of a pile of pain. You came in here and the negative 1 degrees outside is insignificant to the stuff that you're going through. There's chaos in the lives of people you care about. There's chaos in your marriage. There's chaos at your job. You're like, Kyle, you're talking about being consistent, setting goals. I can barely just get out of bed and show up. A lot of you end up in my office. We talk about it. I've ended up in people's office and talked about it myself. And times where you're like, I can't even make a next decision. I can't even make a consistent next step. This is always my advice to you all and to me. Then just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. Yeah, but my wife said, yeah, okay, then just be nice. Yeah, my kids are, yeah, well then just watch your tone. My boss is such well, maybe have an attitude that gets better notes. Just do the next right thing. You don't have to figure out how to do all the right things for the next 5 to 10 years. You just have to do the next right thing. When you get up from your seat right now, what are you going to do? When you get into your vehicle to drive home, what are you going to do? Just do the next right thing. And it's a 12-step, that's where the 12-steppers got it right. You can only think about today. It's just one day at a time. It's just one decision at a time. If you're like, I got to stay sober the rest of my life, how am I going to do that? You won't. You just got to stay sober right this minute. Just got to stay sober today. What about tomorrow? Doesn't matter. Stay sober today. Just do the next right thing. If you are in the midst of struggle and pain and some habit or some person has dominated you, just do the next right thing. Now, you may have to get some help. You may have to see a counselor. And Celebrate Recovery, Christian 12-Step program, is on its way. It's going to be here soon. But for now, you just got to do the next right thing, and you may have to get some help if you're being dominated by other people or other stuff. Finally, respond to the consistent love of Jesus. If Jesus does get up every morning, which he doesn't, he consistently starts with, I'm in love with you, with you, with you. I care about you. I guess only old people can get to this place But God has been consistently faithful and good and loving to me all the days of my life. And I've had many days filled with pain and disappointment and misunderstanding. But God's consistency to me, God's love for me, I didn't earn it. I didn't do anything. In fact, if he was given to me based on my goodness, he wouldn't give it to me. But way back in the day when I said yes to Jesus, Jesus said no to my sin and the sin punishment and said yes to grace and love in my life. For some of you sitting here in Chelan or in the Brewster Middle School, or some of you tuned in online, that's the biggest choice decision you could make. Is God consistently proves his love for you, started by sending Jesus, and then offers you grace and love for each day. And you get to decide, you get to choose to say yes to that or no. It's your decision. But the best decision you can make was say, you know what? I can't rescue myself. I can't save myself. I can't find consistent love no matter what, anywhere. That's why it seems so weird. But God proved it by sending Jesus Christ as a sacrifice, death on a cross, rose again from the dead to prove he would be the rescuer, the Savior, different from any other thing ever existed on the earth. I'm praying that this year, that you roar into 2024, feeling loved and cared for, and you respond to the grace, not the judgment, not the ridicule of God. He knows we're messed up. He knows we're rebels. He knows we've been far from him. He knows we make decisions that don't involve him. In fact, we make opposite of what he would want. And he says, come on down to the living water. Initially and every day, you get cleaned up and move ahead because of God's consistent love proved through Jesus.